This week's movie, Who Am I? In a classic tale of good versus evil, these two ancient races come to Earth with only a clue hidden in my grandfather's glasses, in search for the ultimate power. Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, episode 59. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers and coarse language, so you've been forewarned. Hey, we're the Theatregorillas. My name is Carlos.
I'm Heath.
And I'm Dan.
And each and every fortnight we get together and talk about movies. And this week, what are we looking at?
Fantastic meats and where to buy them.
I thought it was elastic sheets and how to fold them.
Oh, yeah.
No. It is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
You've known for 24 hours that an unregistered wizard set magical beasts loose in New York.
Yes.
Where is this man?
So before we kick in, usual places you can get us, which is our website, so theatregorillas.com, spelt the UK English way, or you can actually do it the American way.
Don't, because it's wrong.
Yeah, of course. You can, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
So the other various places you can get us social media, so YouTube, Twitter, all that sort of those sort of places. If you go to the website, there's easy links to find us. So
Exactly right.
yes,
Are we on Snapchat yet? That's what all the cool kids are doing these days, isn't it?
you keep saying that every time.
Well, we're still not on it. God damn it.
Oh, someone needs to set up
I
an
just
account
want to be
then.
cool.
Was that everything that came out of the case?
I won't let another one die. I refuse to bow down any longer.
This movie just came out for us on Thursday. I don't know about for the rest of the world. Is the rest of the world on time with us on this one?
We tend to be these days,
Yeah,
don't we?
these days we're pretty much on. So I think everyone got it kind of around the same time.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So everyone's kind of on par with this movie. There's no lag or anything like that, right?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So cool.
So let's briefly outline the plot.
Sure.
So basically, it's the story of an English wizard
Yes.
who comes to the US for purposes that aren't entirely clear to begin with.
No, but that's on purpose.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And he faces the might of the American Witches Association.
MACUSA,
Butts heads.
Yeah. Okay.
the Magical Congress
All right,
of
so
the United States of
this
America.
Of America, yeah.
This script was written by J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So technically, this is her first script, right?
Yes. So she had a hand in writing the screenplays for the other films. However, she wasn't the key script writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this movie, she was the key script writer.
Okay.
So basically, just a little bit of history. Warner Brothers, who has the property, well, they don't own the property. They licensed the property from J.K. Rowling for the Harry Potter universe.
Smart woman.
They said to her, we want to make more Harry Potter films and whatnot. And she said, okay, we can do that, but only if I write them and produce them. So which is great. And that, like you said, smart woman. She didn't sell the property. She licensed the property.
Yep.
So she does have full creative ownership and control of these films.
Very smart move, because one thing I did notice going into this movie, it is if you're a fan of the Harry Potter films, then the later films is very much in the sort of persona and the tone of this film.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say especially the later films, like it didn't feel like a Chamber of Secrets. It was a lot darker and sort of...
No, it's definitely gone into the adult audience by this stage.
Well, this as well. I mean, so this was directed by David Yates, and David Yates did the last, what would be 5 films. So he did the 4th, 5th, 6th, and both the 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny that, both 7s.
Yeah, well, part 1 and 2 for 7.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got the tone matching the last several films of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
What I also noticed is the uses of magic throughout it is very similar to what we've already seen throughout the universe of Harry Potter, which is great because...
I was going to say, is it all consistent? Because it seemed like some of the stuff the wizards were doing is stuff that I didn't realize they were capable of in Harry Potter.
You do
like
see
they were
it.
using the Force sort of thing to move cars and shit.
Okay.
Okay, that one was new for me, but most of everything else
Okay.
Yeah.
is something that you've seen in the Harry Potter.
It is, but also we got to remember in the Harry Potter universe, majority of the magic we see is done by children, so people who are learning to be wizards and witches.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Where in this one they're adults, so they've learnt how to be like they are now, they're full blown wizards and witches.
Yeah.
So
Instead
they
of
do have.
Padawans, they're Jedi.
They're masters, exactly right. So they do have a higher grasp of magic itself.
Right, okay,
And like the thing that you were saying, like the force power type stuff that they use,
Yeah.
that is in the books. So humans use wand magic, but non-wand magic exists as well.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I do remember is that when you learn the spells, at least it's been explained to me because, to be honest, I haven't read the books, and naughty shame on me. I really should read them.
You really,
But when you learn the spells, you don't actually have to say them out loud,
No.
and that frees you up to do other things.
Yeah,
it's actually a very big part of because they don't really focus on it that much in the movies, but I think it's the 6th book. There's actually a whole thing about where they're teaching all the kids how to do spells without having to say the spell.
Yeah.
So it's basically as long as you've got your wand in your hand, you can speak this, you can think the spell.
Yep.
And it should just happen.
So it was an extension then of
Yes.
what's come previously.
You actually,
Absolutely.
in the Harry Potter universe, through the original films, you actually notice the adults do a lot of that. They don't say what the spells are.
Yeah,
They just,
that's true.
they
Yeah.
flick
just
the
do
wand.
it.
Yeah, done.
Whereas the kids, they're always stuck trying to say the damn thing.
Exactly it. Yeah, and that's once again.
Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Yeah, and that's because as well, like I was saying before, they're kids doing it, so they're learning. And where at this point, in the movie, all of these wizards were, they've learnt their magics.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so at least we've got that nice consistency.
Yeah.
But obviously, being a whole new story, there has to be new elements brought into the franchise to entice people to.
And mind you, set in a different time period as well. It was set in,
so it's set before.
the 50s, I want to say?
No, it's in the 20s.
20s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Flappers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole new period. We have a whole new city. We have a whole new set of rules for the city.
Yep.
So basically, they're the complete opposite of what we've grown up so far seeing.
Yes.
So whereas Hogwarts is all about equality and everyone has a fair go, and we don't mix with the human verse, the Muggles, but it's not unknown to some of them.
No. Well, that's exactly right. Because, in the Harry Potter universe, even once again, this isn't from just the books, this is also in the movies. Like, for example, Hermione, she's a Muggle born.
Yeah.
So, of course, her parents know what she is.
Right.
And they know who she is and where she goes for school. Like, they know all of that stuff. Where in this, especially at this time, and as we kind of see from those flashes of the newspapers, but we also get from in the story as well, that, they're in hiding. Like, witches and wizards in America are very much in hiding.
What do we think of the acronym for the
Makusa?
Yeah, so it is essentially Yakuza. Like,
Yeah. I had a laugh at it. I thought it was because I saw the acronym on a poster,
right.
and I thought MACUSA. I wonder what that what it actually stands for. But actually,
When you
hearing him say
spell it out like
Makusa-
that, to me, it's MICKEYMOUSC.
Oh, now fucking hell, it's going to be in my
Right?
head. Thank you very much.
So for me, it's kind of like, I don't know whether she's trying to take like a chip at, or like a dig at them for that. Like, is that like a little pun or a play, or is it just a simple? Well, we kind of want this authority figure, but we also want them to be menacing in a sense as well. So what's menacing that everyone knows about? So Yakuza, we'll play on that.
I kind of almost thought of it as a almost like a shield. You know how shield, strategic homeland intervention, and all the division, and it's like so they pretty much have it so it spells shield. She just wanted to have an acronym that you can say like that. It's like they call it Makusa.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Even though, can I say, Yeah, it sounded way too much like Yakuza. Every time that someone said it, I thought they were saying Yakuza.
Yeah,
every
right.
fucking time.
I was just half waiting for people to walk around with axes. Like,
Yeah,
honestly.
exactly.
Cut people's fingers off. That kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Now, the movie itself I found quite entertaining and everything, but I've only got one more nitpick, which is when it comes to the lore. Like, we've grown up with Muggles, and like all the terminology and everything that has gone throughout the Harry Potterverse, I thought has been really great and clever, or taken from another piece of mythology that we've already seen, but she's worked it in her own way, shape, or form and reinvented it, right? Yeah. Whereas in this one, it's kind of like she's almost having a dig at the Americans as being non-imaginative.
Well, that's what it is. It's the reflection of the New World versus the Old World. The New World, the industrialization, very rational thinking. You know, there's not as much sort of mysticism or sort of that sort of thing. So it is. It's a literal sort of presentation of the Americans as an economic power, I think.
Right. And I kind of got that as well, because it's very much like the word muggle is a very English word.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, you can imagine them saying that word, like, a non-magic user in England, that's a muggle. That's the word they came up with. And so I actually really liked that they call them no-mage. Because,
really?
Yeah, because I think that's exactly it. It's a very American, that's how I think that's how Americans that's what they'd call them. Yeah. And so I think it was actually really,
I think especially at that time in history as well, you know, they were seen as the rational, you know, like economic super.
Yeah, see, for me, I just feel like they're all like magic users. Like, they've seen some crazy shit in their time and their education. Like, surely they could think of something a little bit more imaginative.
I mean,
spells have more imagination.
Can I just say one thing that kind of annoyed me about this is, in the use of CGI, it was very much just like another blockbuster.
Oh, very much so.
There was lots and lots of CGI. Some of it was all right, but overall, I didn't think it was that great. You know, it was just sort of standard Hollywood fare. You could see the seams like constantly. Every single scene, you could see where they'd stitched it together from the real world and the CGI.
I will grant you that when we go inside his suitcase.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we see all the different environments and sort of like it's kind of like a petting zoo that he's created, right?
Yeah.
When the whole when you find out what the whole reason why he's in the States in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's that Griffin Phoenix type.
Yeah,
it's not really a griffin. It's like an oversized phoenix sort of a creature, right?
That also
kind of looks like the American bald eagle.
Yeah, that has the power to control the weather.
Well, at least rain can call on rain.
But
right?
you know, it's like it's also doing lightning and shit too.
Yeah. So when we see that creature and he interacts with that creature, and when I can't remember the name of the creature of the sort of like the serpent type birds.
The dragony sort of things.
Yeah, that can change size to grow and shrink.
Yeah, it's dependent on space available. Yeah.
Those two creatures, whenever I found that they were in sort of interaction with everyone else, that's where I found it was really clear that there's nothing there that they're acting with.
Yeah, it's cobbled together, yeah.
Whereas the other creatures, for example, that I can't even remember the name of the creatures, but the kind of like the platypus type creature that loves to steal shiny things.
Yeah, the Niffler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the Niffler, right?
Yeah.
That I actually found believable in the environment.
See, that worked fine because you didn't have to have it interacting with anything in the real world. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the scenes it was in were completely CGI.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had like in the safe scene where he's there trying to stuff the
gold
down his pouch. Yeah. He was fucking funny. I have to say, I do like it. Yeah.
He's funny.
And it's funny because I don't think they had that. They had that reference in the movies, but there's actually a reference to that creature in the books.
Oh, okay.
Because you know how the Weasleys are poor?
Yep.
Yeah, Ron wants one.
Right.
Because it's like, well, he'll just get stuff, shiny things, and then hoard it, and so that way his family will have money.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Clever.
It is clever. So it's cool to actually see one in action, though. It was really funny.
Now, I will grant you another one is when we find our, not so much villain, but as the circumstances are, the creature that is affecting the city.
Yeah. The Obscurus.
The Obscurus. Yeah.
Right?
Obscurus,
I'm not even going to pretend
it's an obscure
to pronounce
word.
It right. What I will agree with you on is when we finally see we are at that event of the movie,
Yeah.
it immediately reminded me of BVS
Yeah.
fighting Doomsday and Big Light Show and not really being able to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Fucking A,
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that, yeah, especially in the high action scenes. It was just like they tried to pack as much onto the screen as possible, and you could hardly like absorb
couldn't make
half
sense
of what was going on. Yeah.
And granted, they're noting that this particular one was ultra powerful because normally the parasite kills the host long before they get to be
So they're
in
only
the
meant to
tower,
live to 8 to 10 years old.
right. So and in this particular case, this person is much older, so it's much more powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand what they're trying to convey, but it was a little bit of a mess. And when it became a little bit quieter in the underground, in the subway, that's when I thought it kind of worked because it was more in the background. You got to see the focus of the kid again.
When it was up on the wall and crawling across the roof. Yeah,
and
definitely.
when it was starting to come back out of him again, that's when I thought it kind of worked. But then after that, it's just...
Oh, when his face was in the swarm?
Yeah.
And that was the point where I stopped and I'm like, that's really shit. Like, that's the worst effect in the whole movie.
Well,
you could tell it was like Matrix, the original Matrix, when Agent Smith explodes at the end.
Yeah.
You know, it just looks really terribly like computer generated.
But you couldn't even see it clearly either.
Yeah,
like
well,
it was so
that's true,
obscure.
yeah.
Like you'd see occasional ones, and you're like, oh, really? I actually did say that's one thing I was a bit disappointed with, the look of that, the look of the Obscura when it was in its full form.
Okay, yeah.
So I kind of, because you're right, like effects wise, it did have. Yeah, you could tell where the seams were. You could tell where things were superimposed. Look, for me, it didn't take away from the movie because I kind of was just expecting it. But yeah, no, you're definitely right, especially when we've seen some films where it was seamless. Like when we were talking about Doctor Strange.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And the
Compare it
same,
to
very
Doctor
similar
Strange.
effects
Yeah.
going on. And yet you didn't even tell it was there.
Where, like, for me, it didn't take away either, but I can see what Dan's point of view is.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And in those particular circumstances that I've pointed out is where I felt that you can definitely see it the most.
Yeah.
Aside from that, like, where I found this movie to like, its strength is definitely in the story. I think the story is well written. I think the characters play the roles really well, particularly who's playing Newt Scamander.
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne.
I found him like painfully aloof.
No.
Like the whole movie, he's like got a secret he doesn't want to tell anyone.
Yeah, but he's also actually, in his personality, he's also kind of Aspie.
I
He's
find-
got someone with Asperger's. He doesn't like the eye contact. He's nervous. He's
See, they never
comfortable.
established any of that.
No, I don't think it's necessary either. I think his history of his girlfriend that they allude to throughout the movie, that starts to explain why he is kind of like that character. Like, to me, being the history that we know, the family that his once girlfriend is from,
Yeah.
that obviously something had happened and something that scarred him. I understand now the reason why his character is a little bit standoffish with other people, and the fact that he also explains that no one really would understand what I'm doing with these creatures.
Yeah.
People would just exterminate them, and I'm trying to save them.
Yeah.
And so he's built this world around himself that has secluded him from the outside world, really.
Yeah.
And so I kind of understand that. And with Eddie Redmayne, I was terrified after Jupiter Ascending that we were going to get something absolutely fucking rubbish.
Still haven't seen that, so, but yeah.
Yeah, neither.
And I was honestly terrified, and it was actually good and nice to see his performance in this movie is a huge step up from the previous film.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Saying that, though, he has since then won an Academy Award.
What for?
Acting.
No shit, Sherlock. Well, he didn't get it for sound design.
well,
I can't remember, actually. I'm sorry, but yeah.
yeah, but with Jupiter Ascending, Jesus Christ, like when I saw his face in the casting, I'm just like, okay, we're in trouble here. I think we might be in trouble here. But no, I'm happy to say he was actually a really nice addition to this movie.
So, you mentioned story before, Carlos.
Yep.
And I wanted to know what your guys' thoughts was on the story, because I came into it as I'm a fan of the series. I've read all the books except for the latest one, which is the play, which I still need to read.
That's about their kids, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something?
so it's set, so it's Harry Potter after. And so a lot of the what I'm trying to say is I know a lot of the backstory. I know a lot of the stuff that they're talking about in there when they do reference certain things.
Yeah.
I can never say his name. Probably Grindelwald.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know,
Grindelwald?
Grindelwald, sorry. Grindelwald. When they're talking about that, when they, the Niffler, I know like all these little tiny references that they do throughout.
Yeah.
However, saying that though, I did find as the story progressed, there were points where it went a little long in certain parts.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like, well, you didn't really need to do that. That could have been shorter. Yes, they need to show a lot of the Fantastic Beasts. It's the name of the fucking movie. But did we really need to spend that much time on each specific one inside the briefcase?
I kind of agree with you there, considering that they've already announced that this is meant to be the next saga.
Yes.
It's not necessarily relevant to show every creature, but the question is, we don't exactly know where the next lot of story is going to go.
No, that's
what
true.
would have made more sense? Yeah, if each movie is going to be focused on one of the creatures from the suitcase, they should have just teased all of them, so that then when you see the trailer for the next movie, you go, "Oh, that was that one in the first one. I wonder what is actually the deal with that." Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I've got a
where.
feeling now the story is going to lend more towards the current sort of war that is happening.
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah.
Rather than the beasts that are in the case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because especially with Grindelwald, especially having that big reveal and having it being, spoilers, Johnny Depp playing the character. Like, you're not going to get an actor like that for a fucking 2.5
We should say, so
minute.
Grindelwald was the one who was causing chaos across Europe.
Yes, so he's currently like the Voldemort of Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, of the 1920s.
Yeah.
So,
And as far as they'd known up until that point, only Europe. Spoilers.
Yes.
so as far as we're aware from story that's already been told, from what I've heard anyway, is that three major characters is Grindelwald, Dumbledore,
Yes.
and there is a third, and I cannot remember who the third is now, but I'm assuming that where the story is going to be going is the telling of these 2 to 3 major characters and involving the death of Dumbledore's sister and and so forth, like that we've already had a telling of in the Harry Potter movies.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm guessing that this is going to be like an immense prequel story.
Yes.
Leading into Harry Potter's time.
Absolutely. Well, because
Or at least even showing the beginning of Tom Riddle.
I don't think we're going to get that far because I think that's going a little bit too far into. What I really hope, well, actually, that's a big thing as well. I mean, my hope is for this film is that we're not going to have anything to do with Voldemort or Tom Riddle.
Right.
Because at that point, we're talking like in the 1970s, so it means 50 years would have to pass in this saga for that to get to there. But well before that as well is Grindelwald's defeated by Dumbledore. So I think it's got to tell that story.
So bring it back to the plot of this movie, because I mean, we could speculate for hours.
Exactly right.
But I agree with you, Heath. Like, I think it lacked a certain sort of cohesiveness.
Yeah.
It was sort of like J.K. Rowling sat down, she plotted out all the scenes and was like, okay, so this is how it's going to go together.
Yeah.
But that was all. Like, it felt very mechanical, the way the story progressed. So, I could follow it, but at the same time, like, there was none of those cues. Like, nobody stopped and said, oh, now we've got to do this or something. It was just sort of, here's one, here's the next scene, here's what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very clinical. Maybe that's just because, she's not used to writing screenplays, but I'd find that hard to believe because surely she would have got some
I'm sure
support in drafting it.
Absolutely.
Or at least some experience from watching her other books
come to life.
Exactly right. So I'm sure she would have something there. But maybe you're right there, actually.
Well, so I think there's a weird disconnect there. I'm not sure that they really knew who they wanted this movie to be for, because in the way that it's plotted out and the way it sort of runs, it's quite, I don't want to use the word immature, but it's sort of aimed towards a younger audience. An audience that will just take it as given that these things are happening.
Or at least a youthful-minded audience.
Yeah, exactly. So, you don't necessarily need as much, what's the word? Context to where it's going or whatever.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, like, that's not really the audience that's going to be into this movie. Like you said, you've been a fan of the books and the movies for what, like 10 years now?
Oh, longer, because, I mean, granted, I got into them late, but, 2000 and...
When did the first book actually come
97.
out?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah, so I mean, I think I read the first book just after the first movie came out.
See, and I held off from reading the books because the movie had already come out. And I'm like, look, okay, they're clearly going to go through all of it. I'll wait till it's finished. And I never got around to it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because I was watching the first one. I'm like, oh yeah, not bad. I'll read the first book, and I actually, it's a short book. You read it, but yeah, so exactly it. So I don't know because. Like I said, I loved those little nods, and I did like, seeing Newt as coming to life as a character. I think he's fantastic, and I did like as well seeing the American universe and how that seemed to be built. I also did love how, for example, like they definitely tried to make it a period piece by having things like, for example, not mixing with Muggles or not being able to date or marry Muggles.
So you've got
Or
sort
even
of that
social
or
context
even
of what's going on,
segregation
which is happening in the 20s in the States.
Even so much so that you can't even talk to one.
That's it. Same, but that was very big between whites and blacks back in the States in the 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you go to certain parts of the States, they actually had laws where you could not marry someone of another race.
So it's very much playing on historical cues.
Exactly right. And so I love that little flow, but then there were just points in it. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna get this creature. Okay, here we go. We're getting that creature. Yet we're still getting the creature. We've almost got the creature, but no, wait. We've got him now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
See, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Or
You
someone
would forgive-
sneezes or fucks up and then
Which-
interrupts and changes the way to capture them.
exactly
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he was. Oh,
Which happens twice.
It happens, I think, 3 times.
Does it happen a third time?
Yeah, I think there's 3 times, in like the 3 major times when he's trying to capture creatures. Something happens which foils the capture of the creature,
Right.
but then he ends up capturing the
Maybe
creature.
they need a mirrorverse.
Yeah,
See, so I mean, those are the kinds of things you forgive in a children's movie, because
Exactly.
you're like, children aren't going to be that critical, they don't need to know every sort of bit that fits the pieces of the story together.
Yeah.
But like I said, I feel like the audience should naturally be older. It should be a young a young adult to like middle aged sort of and up.
Well,
Well,
no, exactly.
I think you also have to look at the characters that are involved. Like with Harry Potter, the story
and the story itself.
the story itself is following someone who enters high school.
Yeah.
And
not
we
even
are
high school.
following
Yeah.
this kid become an adult.
Yeah.
And so as he naturally gets older, the stories become mature.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy's already mature.
Yeah.
And the stories, even though they're whimsical and have a fantastic nature, no pun intended, we should have an adult yet fantastic story.
And see, and I
yeah.
feel like they tried to shoehorn that in a little bit with, like the relationship between Queenie, the blonde witch,
Yep.
and Kowalski, the nomad.
Yeah. What was his name? Jacob or something?
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Jacob Kowalski. And they having that little relationship and kind of thing going on there.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, because it played a major part of that, of the movie.
Yeah.
Yet, I mean,
But then the resolution was just Disney.
yeah, exactly.
It was
Yeah.
like, and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
Like
She
what
found
none
his
of the
shop.
realities of
Yeah.
actually.
But what I
the
do like is
situation.
that she's keeping an eye on him.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah, that was cute.
she's still breaking the rules and everything, but she knows that he's 1 in a million.
Yeah.
And she's to hell with it. Like she knows there's something there, so she's going to go for it.
I actually really, and
And I also like the fact that the mind wipe isn't completely permanent because he still has recollections to create his pastries based on.
Okay, of the creatures.
But that's the thing, exactly. But see, he wouldn't know where. He just think it's his imagination.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But you can tell that that at least it didn't quite stick
slithers there.
because there's still
There was a
something
nod to
there.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did, look, and I liked that. But maybe that could be a premise for another movie. We don't know how, the breaking down of social norms of the time.
So when Newt goes to leave, he's heading back to England to hand in his manuscripts, and he does mention that he will come back in person to hand a copy of the book.
Yeah.
Back to what was the main character's name?
You mean the female character?
Yeah.
Oh, God. The actress
Was it
is
Tina?
Waterston. Tina.
Yeah. Okay, Tina. So we know that he wants to go back to England to hand in his manuscript, and then come back to America to hand a physical copy back to Tina.
Yeah.
Do we assume that the next chapter of the story will continue from that point?
I think we don't need to think too much about what they're going to do for the next one. I think we need to just concentrate on this movie for the time being.
But I'm curious because the way that they've kind of capped the story, if it's going to continue on with this whole battle and war between Grindelwald and potentially Dumbledore, with our characters separating and leaving the States, like where's the story actually going to go? Because we've set up this whole new period in America, and we're diving into interesting sort of subject matters. And I'd like to see where it actually goes with the whole segregation and that sort of prohibition and that sort of era of America and how it actually plays in, and whether the magical world actually had a part to play in those particular
again, this
things.
is all conjecture. We don't know until we see what the next
But I'd
one's
like to
gonna
see
be.
it.
But I mean, I think as well, though, see on that where you have that established relationship coming up, like, that whole, especially at the end with that boat scene, it's that real... Will they, won't they kiss? What's going to happen? They built a relationship of these two characters. So I could imagine that, yes, that could happen, because otherwise I feel like having that link between them in this movie would be a little bit of a waste.
Actually, did they really build a relationship between them, though? Like, I felt the relationship between Jacob and the other chick, the blonde witch.
Oh, it was well
obvious.
Yeah,
like
heaps
that was
stronger. That was a lot, a lot more of one.
Like you said, like that was an undercurrent to the plot itself. But with those two, I just felt like it was inevitable. Like, again, it was just the Disney thing. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
force them into
I'm
a
the lead.
situation and
I'm the lead guy, you're the lead girl. Obviously, we're going to have to get together.
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, that's a good point.
It was more inevitable than it was,
Yeah, okay, good point there, actually. Good point, because it wasn't like you kind of had a big build-up, but it was more...
Yeah. Like when they put Jacob back, like you cared more about Jacob than he did.
Well,
for Tina at
because
the
he's
time,
like, because he has no friends. And it was cool.
Would you, in a situation like that, do you reckon the characters would work better if they're forced into situations that they both hate each other and forced to work with each other and see where things...
But if it was like a
could
buddy
work?
cop movie?
Yeah, kind of thing. Because essentially that's what it was aiming to be that didn't quite pan out.
See, I don't think they should have... I'm not really going to use the word sexualized because it's not like they sexualized him, but I don't think that they should have had a relationship for Newt. Like, I thought that was kind of his whole point. Like, Jacob Kowalski and the friendship was enough to establish that, he's changing his ways, he's becoming more human, he's not that shut-in isolationist. So I just felt like that would have been enough. It was unnecessary to do anything more with that character at the time. But
I also think, given the history that he's not really going into, but we have a vague idea of his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. And he had an accident.
Past relationship.
And the accident in Hogwarts.
That would be enough of a reminder. Like, he has a keepsake within his suitcase that he always looks at.
Yeah.
Right? So I would have assumed that is, like you said, his character, but he will completely stay away from relationships because he's been too scarred.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a Doctor Strange sort of character. I felt, in that he's more about the knowledge and helping creatures and all that kind of shit. Like he's
but also helping the
almost
wizarding.
above the baser instincts to a certain extent.
But also helping the wizarding world, like
course,
in his, the fact that he just knows that, something that most people want to kill also has curative properties.
Yeah,
so it's that whole, it's like he's really actually being more of a, empowering the wizarding world a little bit more with knowledge. So in that respect as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of knowledge and the creatures and so forth, what did we actually think of when it came down to the crunch and his wands have been taken? So his primary weapon as a wizard is gone.
Yeah.
But he still has some of the creatures on hand. What did we think of the way he used them? Like, did we feel like it was like a cheap parlor trick, or did we think it would actually fit the story?
You know what was funny? The fact that he had the what do they call it? The spawning evil.
Oh yeah.
Was it called, or the scorching evil, or
something evil?
It was spawning evil.
Yeah. A creature which I found interesting that he'd already warned that this creature is vicious and whatnot, and has like a dangerous bite and all of that stuff.
The venom is very toxic.
But at the same time, he was able to control it.
Yeah,
He's there throwing it like a fucking yo-yo. It's going around thing. He's getting Tina to jump on it to save her life.
Oh yeah.
When did he tame it?
Well,
But isn't that his dynamic with all of his creatures?
Is it because he's friendly to them?
Yeah, I
they're
think
friendly
that's
to
the
him?
idea, yeah.
Okay,
Because
fair
a couple
enough,
of the
that's
other
cool.
creatures he'd mentioned are incredibly dangerous as well, but because he's their carer sort of thing, like
Yeah. It's
that
like-
established that bond.
It's kind of like
Okay,
a Dr.
fair enough.
Dolittle relationship,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
like,
fair
like
enough.
Pokemon. Like if you were to find a Pikachu in the wild, it'd probably electrocute you. But if it's one of your Pokemon, you
He's
can
all
get
like-
it to electrocute other people.
Yeah, he's like,
right?
hey, I'm here. Okay, cool. I'll go with that. But it did look good.
Yeah.
Like saying that when they're running through away from the auroras, I did think that was a very cool. Like it looks cool the way he was using them, the throwing it around and the little things he was doing.
Yeah, no, because what I liked more than anything is that I couldn't figure out whether he had tamed these creatures or he had befriended these creatures by saving them.
Yeah.
As he explains that they're endangered, so he's taken them in to. For example, there was one of the creatures, I can't even remember the names of them, where he said that if it wasn't for me, they'd be extinct.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, the last breeding pair.
Yeah. Right, so he's obviously trying to do something noble.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's that has their trust. But yeah, the way that he throws that venomous creature around, it to me, by the end of it, it's like, well, what am I afraid of this creature of? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's that Pokemon master relationship sort of thing. Yeah.
Right.
So if you to encounter them in the wild, a wild version of any of those creatures, you'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But we should round up, I think. Was there anything else you guys wanted to mention? Anything in particular? It was quite a long movie, wasn't it? It ended up being nearly 2.5 hours. No, about 2 hours 10 minutes, 2 hours 20 minutes.
It didn't feel that to me though.
See, actually,
I felt towards the end it sort of started to drag a little bit.
yeah, like I was saying with the drag scenes,
Yeah.
for me it did feel like a long film. Like I bet you, like I feel like you could cut 30 minutes out of that and it would still been a great movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
See,
I mean, that being said, I've seen other 2-hour movies that seem much longer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
Batman
for
versus
me,
Superman, for example.
Well, yeah,
for me, the movie didn't feel like it dragged, but I will agree that where I thought it was ending, it did seem to just trail on for a little couple of extra minutes, and probably it's where we've seen. What was it? He gives Jacob the shells of the eggshells to build his bakery. And that would have been enough to sort of end that chapter right there and
now
then.
we see the whole.
But then we actually see the bakery afterwards. It's like, okay.
Yeah. You know what it is? They did the Return of the King ending when they should have
that's
done the first book. What was the first one called? It's Two Towers, Return of the King.
No, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, they should have just done Fellowship and been like to be continued sort of thing. They did the full Return of the King. This is exactly what happened to every single one of these characters afterwards.
Sam, I'm gabbed.
I agree there, yeah. I felt like
it's
that was a bit laboured.
That was the one thing that to me, it's just like, okay, I really did not need to see this. I know he's got his bakery.
Yeah.
Like
have that as the opening scene to the next movie.
exactly
You know?
right.
So here we are, as a recap.
Yeah.
Kowalski's back. He's got his bakery now. You know, Newt's come back from England with the promise. You know, you don't even have to show the promise at the end of Fantastic Creatures. Have him coming back to Tina saying, "I promised I'd bring you a copy."
Yeah, or even just say, "Look, I got to head back to the UK and hand him my manuscript," and he's got it printed.
Yeah.
And
he's
that completely makes sense.
I wanted to give this to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one thing that just stuck out for me. Like,
Yeah, it's fair.
yeah. So all right. So should we wrap up on this?
Yeah, I say let's wrap it up.
on.
Yeah.
Let's not have
That's
that in
DJing.
there.
That's not
Wickety,
rapping.
wickety, woo. Wickety, wickety, woo.
Yeah, let's not have that in there.
That's going in, and I'm slowing it down. It's going to go wickedy. Just you wait.
All right. Okay, I'll go first on this. I really enjoyed this movie. I didn't really have big issues with effects, except for if we're going to be really nitpicky, the moment that really stood out to me is when he approaches the phoenix-like bird that's the American eagle
first time you see it,
representative. Actually, it's more towards the end when he gives it the vial and says, "You know what you have to do."
Yeah.
It looks like he's interacting with, I don't know, some piece of foam or something, because it doesn't match with his hand movements with what's actually happening. Like his hand and head movements don't quite sync.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was a fault in production, like, follow the tennis ball or whatever, like he's not looking in the right spot and he's not handling in the right areas.
Yeah.
So it looks a little bit askew. In terms of that story, I thought was pretty round and solid. Like what I thought was interesting was like the introduction of witch stories, like Salem witches and stuff like that. In the background, you saw in posters and stuff like that. I reckon it would be awesome to see more integration of that in the story of the American.
Yeah. I like the fact that they actually
stuff
that kind of made it that, all that stuff about the Salem witch trials. Yeah, that was them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I reckon that sort of stuff would be interesting to see in future. The characters are great. I'm glad that Eddie Redmayne did not do another Jupiter Ascending on this one. I think his quirkiness and his shyness is a really interesting character set for this character, and it really stands out, and I'm more than happy to follow him for another series of movies. Johnny Depp is the surprise ending character. Don't know how that's going to play out for the future. I'm actually getting tired of Johnny Depp in movies recently. But yeah, like in saying that, I really did enjoy this movie. I'm going to give this one 4 bananas.
Cool. You want to go?
Now you on.
Excellent.
No, actually, I'm going to go second this time. I always end up going third, and I'm just like, yeah, exactly what you guys said.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
thing
You go second. I know what I'm going to say. Go nuts.
All right. So, like I mentioned, yeah, the effects, I feel like it was just, there was an overload of CGI. And one of the strengths of the original Harry Potter movies was that they were very much took that Star Wars approach of melding practical effects with CGI.
Yeah, especially with the older movies being replayed recently.
Yeah. So I feel like, I guess that's the sort of approach I anticipated going into this, or I would have liked to have seen. But yeah, so for me, it was a bit too much, and it was just sort of, in many of the scenes, we'll just throw shit on the screen and quickly pan past, so we can hide the roughness of it. But yeah, so I mean, that's just me, like I don't like too much CGI. I just find it taxing. As far as the performances, I still can't say I agree on Newt. It was just like he's not a very good actor. Like you could see what he was going for, but he just seemed smugly aloof and for no reason.
I think that's the British.
No. Well, I mean, no. You can be smug and confident. Like he was smug without the confidence.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of him. And it didn't seem like he acted very much in many of the scenes. It was just sort of he was delivering lines, but that's just me. The rest of the cast was pretty neat. The story itself, like I said, it doesn't seem quite to gel as a movie. It just seems like they've aligned all the scenes up and tacked them together. So yeah, I don't know. There was nothing in particular I can put my finger on, but it just didn't seem like it flowed well from start to finish.
Right.
But that being said, I still enjoyed it well enough. Probably, you know what? I probably won't end up seeing the others, the movies. I'll wait for DVD or whatever, So I'm going to say 3 bananas.
Right. Heath?
Okay. Well, look, like I said before, I came into this movie as someone who has read all the books. I love the universe. And so one thing I actually said to my girlfriend before we were going in to see it, there's 3 things that I hope for out of this movie. Number 1, that it actually expands the universe. So it actually creates a universe that I believe and that I love. Number 2, it actually shows the use of magic in a more mature way. And 3, that it actually... what's the word I'm looking for? It entertains me. For me, it did all 3. I think it's now established an actual universe, which I think is fantastic. I love the fact that we got to see the American Wizarding Association, or as they call it, the Magical Congress of the United States of America. I hate MACUSA, but what can you do about it? Mm-hmm. I thought that the spells looked great. They looked like they were mature spell users. They didn't look like they were training. They looked like they knew what they were doing.
The spell casting was very cool.
Exactly it. And
on par with what we've seen previously.
Exactly right. So that was fantastic. There were times I thought, oh God, it's dragging on. It's dragging on. So maybe you could have cut 20 to 30 minutes out of it, and it still would have been a really good movie. Yeah, I really look forward to what they're going to be doing next, and Yeah, that's pretty much me. So I'm going to give it 4 bananas as well.
Alrighty. So that is Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. And
Deli meats and where to supply them. What were the other ones? Come on, we came up with some really good ones.
Or the Kings of Men and how to bind them.
Yes.
right. So in any case, you can catch us in a fortnight. Until then, stay tuned to find out what this week's movie Who Am I is. Until then, bye. Oh, wait. Jungle Play.
Yes.
So we just dropped one last
Friday.
week.
Gwent. Yes. So there'll definitely be one next week. I'll probably have something before then as well. I've started playing DayZ again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The standalone's been out for the alpha build of the standalone has been out for nearly 3 years now, I think, if not more.
Yeah.
So I'm going to dig back into that.
I've seen.
Well, yeah. I'm going to dig back into that and see whether or not much has improved.
Right.
Spoiler alert, not really.
All right, I'm going to try and help you with some of these jungle plays. Can't promise anything, but I will definitely try and get some down for you.
Deal.
And I said, I'd actually love to get on.
What?
Can I rewind on that?
No, sorry, that's staying in.
I actually want to get on to Elite Dangerous with you.
Oh, my goodness. What was that one?
I want to get on to Elite Dangerous with you.
Elite Dangerous, yeah.
Right,
and,
okay.
I think I mentioned it 3 or 4 times now, but the Paladins closed beta should be coming soon to Xbox. So hopefully we'll have a 3, if not 4 player go at that. So
we'll have a 4-way.
Are we ever going to look at whatever happened with The Division?
Oh, possibly. I feel like it's a bit late now. Maybe we'll wait till they drop what's probably going to be the final big update.
Okay. Maybe we'll try and catch it then.
Yeah. Keep an eye out anyway.
So anyway, stay tuned to find out what this week's movie Who Am I is. Until then, we'll see you in a fortnight. Bye.
Peace.
See ya.
And you've stayed on to find out what this week's movie Who Am I is. And the answer is Transformers.
Oh, that's right.
More than meets the eyes.
Now,
Eyes? I thought it was just a single eye.
Ah, whatever.
You're supposed to
and
be
you are supposed to be the
Actually,
biggest
it's true.
fan in
You're
the room.
supposed to be our Transformers
Well, it actually is
expert.
more than meets the eyes.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not the original cartoon.
No, it's more
No,
than
well,
meets
you've
the
got
eye.
2.
What?
You're trying to
Yeah,
salvage
but-
it, and it's not working.
It's not going to work.
Hey, hey, look, shut up. How's that?
Well, what we're going to say is from 2007, Michael Bay, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's Michael Bay's been all of them, isn't it?
Yep.
Which is shit. But Michael Bay did the first Transformers with success, and considering that it was its first iteration of a live action take,
Yeah.
it hit all the right keys. Considering the drawbacks, I think, of what could have been, what a story it should have been, because being that I've grown up with the animated movie.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it was seriously a really good film. What the fuck happened when it went into the second film? Okay, anyway, guys, we'll see you in a fortnight. Bye.
Cool. See ya.
This podcast is recorded and produced by Theatre Gorillas, edited by Dan Clark.